Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. I am your host, as always, Chad, and joining me is the glorious one himself, Marcus. Marcus, how the hell are you?
Good man, always good time with you, brother. It's been a thick week, world
Yeah,
of wrestling. Thick week.
that's an understatement. There's a lot of news. We found out before or after last week's show, Buff Bagwell had a leg amputated. Apparently, he was in his knee was so messed up that they couldn't do anything but take the bottom portion of his leg because of how messed up his knee was from a motorcycle accident a few years back. He's fully intended on getting back in the ring though, and I gotta tell you, I think I watched one of his matches from like a year or two ago, and he did not look good. Like physically, he looked messed up. So I'm hoping that without this part of him that was hindering him, maybe he can bounce back and do pretty good. He is 55. Like he doesn't have that much in the in ring of it all left, but I know he's dead set on trying to get back in the ring, and I applaud him for it because I think that'd be very cool to see. In other big news, Hulk Hogan has passed away, and the reactions to it have been exactly what you'd expect. Everyone making a big to do about someone they didn't give a shit about, and those who didn't give a shit about were being shamed for not giving a shit about him. And of course, then Ric Flair comes out of nowhere and is like, "Yeah, he was in a lot of pain and he died like a bitch, but I'm not in any pain and I'm 5 years older because I'm not a bitch." And I'm like, that's the most Ric Flair promo I've ever heard. Dude is dead, and Flair's still burying him. Fuck. Here's the thing, and this really isn't up for debate. When you are an out and out unequivocal racist, people aren't gonna like you. You can be mad that people are bringing that up, but I'm mad that more people didn't mention that before he died. I remember about a decade ago, we're like, if you're in a death spiral, you want to die, and you're doing drugs and all sorts of nonsense to kill yourself, I get how you could go to a bad place. And I think both of us kind of had this idea that if he makes amends, if he really does put the best foot forward, we could forgive him, right? And then he didn't do anything at all. The New Day were like, you showed up, told us to be mindful of where we say things. You didn't apologize. And we're supposed to what? Forgive you? And then I was like, wow, man. Hogan really is persona non grata, right? Like he's he's fucking toast. And then he launches his beer. And then he starts taking photos with dudes with neo-Nazi tattoos. If I'm a man who respects and adores people not for how they look, but who they are as a person. And I see someone coming up with Nazi tattoos on their body, asking, "Hey, Hulkster, brother, man, can I get a photo?" I'd be like, "No, can do, brother. You're the kind of people I leg drop." And if he had a problem with that, I'd hit him with the 24-inch pythons and call it a day, or I'd shoot him. Either or. I wouldn't be like, "Yeah, brother, let's take a photo," because taking photo ops at my crappy beach store is more important than telling a Nazi to go fuck himself. Then he had a black woman fired from as I think she was a model for his beer. She was hired to go to like one of those openings or what have you. And when Hulk realized that the woman that was hired was black, he had her fired. So like you can be mad at people for telling people who like Hulk Hogan to go fuck themselves. But also know that Hulk Hogan was an unapologetic, and I mean that in the most literal term, racist. He was a racist. Does that take away from the impact on this 80s and 90s of wrestling? No. He was a boom period for two different companies in two different decades with two different eras. Never before, never since. No one has ever done what he did to the business in terms of the popularity of it all. Does that mean he's still not a racist? No. He is still, in fact, Marcus, hold your breath. This will be shocking to hear. A racist. Despite all he's done in wrestling, right? Despite all he's done in wrestling, he's still a racist. He's not only a racist, he's anti union. He single handedly killed the ability for pro wrestlers and major companies to unionize. I don't think that if you're working for Jersey All Pro Wrestling or GCW or Texas North South State, Win Dixie, whatever it is, that you should be in a union. You're making $25 a match. Calm your tits. I think if you're working for TNA, AEW, WWE, yeah, I think you should be in a union. I think you should have union protections, and you should have the benefits of unionship. I don't think it'll ever happen. You got people like Hulk Hogan, people like Seth Rollins, people like John Cena, who don't care about the people underneath them. Cody Rhodes, they don't care about the people underneath them. They don't. CM Punk, I like CM Punk. At least I did. Him going to Saudi Arabia single handedly proved to me that he's a phony. He's a fucking phony. Anyone in that company, fucking phony. They don't care about the people underneath them. They don't care about people making money. They don't care about people making livable wages. Most of those guys have to pay for their own travel. They have to pay for their own hotels. They have to pay for their own food on the road. They have to pay for their own gym memberships on the road. They clearly don't care about unionizing. Thanks, Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan ruined WCW with his bullshit. He wasn't the only person who ruined it. Let's be clear. As you know, it was a gangbang, if you will, of ruination. There were about 8 or 9 men who took a turn on the dead whore that is WCW's card. They all had a hand in it. Then Hogan ruined TNA. TNA was doing about 1.4, 1.5 million people a show in terms of attendance, and not attendance, viewership. Their pay per views weren't strong, but people were tuning in. They were. If they had a better idea behind how to run specific venues, how to build up intrigue, how to promote, they would have been a lot better off. But Dixie Carter and Jeff Jarrett and company kind of just fell apart. That's why they brought in Hogan. And then Hogan destroyed this company. Destroyed it. Destroyed TNA. Absolutely destroyed it. And it took them 11 years to get back to this level. And we're still not back to where we were in 2009 in terms of notoriety, popularity, viewership, what penetration. None of that's the same. And Hulk Hogan single handedly the reason why. So there's a lot of reasons to think Hulk Hogan's reputation is complicated. Yeah, on one hand, he was the biggest wrestling star from 1984 to like 1991, give or take. And then he came back with a vengeance, helped elevate WCW in 94, blew it up again in 96, took off, then he ruined it, and as time went on. But when you look at all the other things he did, the way he held talent down, the way he got people fired, the way he constantly and maliciously found ways to make sure that certain guys. OBS is reconnecting. Marcus, you still there? Marcus is not still here. I'm still on though, so we're gonna keep talking until something else is back.
Yeah.
Marcus, yeah, I for some reason everything just dropped out momentarily, except for the recording option. Why we now record everything we stream, so we don't have to worry about dicing up the show. Basically, I was on a monologue about how Hogan was more than just a racist, and he was terrible and complicated. At the end of the day, when you're not a good person and you're known for your racism, your lying, the just constant misery that you sow in the industry, his own daughter doesn't talk to him. His daughter doesn't talk to him. He's a racist. He held talent down. He ruined companies. He lies consistently. His beer's probably shitty. I don't think there's a redeeming quality about him as a person aside from the fact that he was kind of entertaining as a wrestler for a couple times every so often. So, what are you gonna do, Marcus? I don't know if we're having connectivity issues still. If you're there, do you have any thoughts on the Hulkster?
Yeah, man. Um, just everything you said, man. All the irrefutable facts about wrestling, like you said. The man was, the spearhead of two of the biggest boom periods in wrestling. For two different companies, uh, decade apart, with two different characters. Like you said, wasn't hadn't been done before, hasn't been done since. Um, and in that way, his legacy, in that way, is forever cemented. As Hulk Hogan, but then you get to the man, and who, in a lot of ways, felt interchangeable because he's another one of these names that lived the gimmick. Uh, going back to you referencing Flair earlier, that's another name. But yeah, it's crazy because when that stuff with Gawker came out with that, the racist tangent that he went off on, you kind of said, to sum up everything that you said, after the which, he wasn't, deeply sorrowful or apologetic. Certainly not about, most about getting caught, obviously, but, he wasn't apologetic at all because when you try to fix something or go back and change things or sorry about it, it's because you think you did wrong. He didn't think he did wrong. He got mad because he got caught. Hulk Hogan wasn't um, looking for, anything like that. He wasn't remorseful. He wasn't apologetic. After that racist rant, everything that you listed, he was consistent in all the racist stuff that he continued to do, continued to say. Uh, Very much, obviously, not going deep diving off into the political stuff, but the MAGA of it all, which obviously didn't help. On top of, I'm sure a lot of fans already felt about that rant. Then the lasting image, you know, of him in wrestling as one of the biggest stars to ever be in wrestling is him getting booed out the building. So I didn't grow up on Hulk Hogan. I wasn't a crazy fan of Hulk Hogan like that. I respected what he did, who he was, uh, who I thought he was before I found out differently. And yeah, he's a polarizing figure. I don't root for nobody's death, but I'm definitely not losing any sleep over it. And it's what it is, you know. But I think somebody kind of said, and you'll be able to speak to this more than I can. Like he's like one of the last ones in that era who is now gone. That was like I guess one of the big three. I think it was him. I think somebody said Macho Man, and then uh the Ultimate Warrior.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, in that way, that era is I guess wiped. But yeah, man. All things being equal, people 100% feel how they feel who loved him. Who on the opposite side of that 100% feel entitled to feel how they feel who hated him at the end. And all things are valid and equal. So I think this is a lesson to people. You are you lead this world, you are the sum of your parts, and hopefully you try to make those parts better than not.
And that's the hope. The only thing we have is how we're remembered. And if you get remembered as shaking hands and posing photos with, white supremacists, that's how you're going to get remembered. And if that upsets you as someone who is now living in a post Hulk Hogan era, like how could you boil him down to his worst moments? Because your worst moments are going to define you, whether you like that or not. Like I'm sorry if you hopped on planes to Epstein Island like some people have That's how we're going to remember you. If you murdered your family in a fit of some kind of psychotic rage, that's how we're going to remember you. If you were an out and out racist, that's how we're going to remember you. If you hit someone with your car and the next thing people remember is how hard you fought to save that person and you spent years helping them recover, that's how we're going to remember you. I'm not sad that people have an issue liking Hulk Hogan in 2025. We've seen the terror and pain and chaos he's sown in his life. To be so repugnant that your family doesn't, his daughter, who he spent years fixating on like a creep, was not talking to him. I don't know if that was before he died, for years prior to his death, or what have you, but last I heard, maybe a year ago, she was not in contact with her father. Do you know how awful of a parent you have to have zero contact from your child? You know how awful a parent you have to have zero contact from a child? Like, fuck. I can admit Hulk Hogan impacted the industry in a positive way at times. But I can also point out that he is not those two moments in time. And he's far more likely the racist, pervert, neglectful, abusive individual that people have come to know him as. And if your childhood suffers because you saw the reality of a human being, it's not our fault that you can't grasp with the fact that somebody you thought was so important in your life turned out to be a giant racist piece of shit. That's not my problem. That's yours. You take that up with your therapist once every 2 weeks. My inbox is closed. Speaking of closed, I'm starting to get closed off to the idea of live impacts. Jesus fucking Christ. This show was awful. And I mean that in the most bare bones definition I can come up with. It was a fucking atrocious. So some brief news: Myron Reed isn't under contract, but he's working with TNA for the foreseeable future. Killer Kelly's contract has been extended to December. I guess the idea is that they're going to try to get an extension done for. Jake something is signed through next summer, which is dope. Casey Navarro's out for the foreseeable future with, I believe, a torn ACL. I think what the story kind of is around that is he had an ACL tear heading into Slammiversary, but he still wanted to work Slammiversary. And now he's out. He'll be replaced by someone, Marcus, I think you'll be very happy to see back in TNA. But unfortunately, this show was kind of awful. Moose's promo to start the show was dope. I like that. Moose as a face works. The system as faces work. I'm intrigued to see what happens with the system in Order 4. The Elegance brand is the worst gimmick in wrestling, and I would really like to see what this group could do without the albatross that is Ash by Elegance holding them down. What's her name? Can't remember her name. She was one of the Lash Legend. Is that who it is, or maybe it's her tag team partner?
Yeah,
Debuted on
Jakara Jackson.
Jakara Jackson. Thank you. Jakara Jackson debuted on TNA with a new name. Apparently, she wasn't good enough in NXT, so that means she's perfectly good enough for TNA. And I don't understand this company. I don't. I don't. I just fucking don't. Leon Slater joined the Hardys and Steve Macklin in a promo where they're like, "Hey, we still have our toys." Jake something and Mance Warner was kind of fine. I don't think these two have the chemistry that people want them to have. The Good Hands defeated the major players, but not before a JC Jane promo. Gross. Then we had a main event that was solid. It was fine with Santana beating Joe Hendry. It was fine. What? Or did Santana go over, or was it Hendry that went over? I can't remember. Could have sworn Santana rolled up Hendry. Maybe I'm wrong. Marcus, regardless, this show was rough to get through. They had 7,600 people, for Slammiversary. I think they maybe had 1,000 for this TV taping in Virginia. There are so many shots of the audience, and you could easily tell that there wasn't one. Like you could easily see like how many open seats there were. You know, it's kind of embarrassing that they're like, well, we just set or nearly set a new North American attendance record, or did set a new North American attendance record. And it's like, cool, 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 cool. Clearly, fans are showing up to your pay-per-views because they're expecting something that you're not delivering on, which is an exciting and entertaining new show with some surprises and some cool stuff. Which is why they're not showing up to your TV tapings, because you're either A, not promoting them well enough, or B, fans know that TV taping, so it's going to be ass. And when that's the reputation you've cultivated, man, look at all those empty seats. When that's the reputation cultivated, yeah, it's going to be hard for you to draw TV. And if your TV shows suck, which they have sucked. They've been terrible for the most of the year, partly because they've stopped paying some talent. You lost Gresham, you lost Ace Austin, you lost Alexander Hammerstone, you lost Josh Alexander, you lost Mike Bailey, you lost Jordan Grace. Those are six of your best workers. You lost them. Then you flooded the roster with terrible NXT talent that have hindered the development and growth of your TV show. Paint by numbers right there. Maybe 1,000 people at this TV taping, if that. Clearly, whatever you're doing isn't working long term. It isn't working for the television show. It's not working for the product. And yet we're stuck now with a more like mediocre Trick Williams and JC Jane Reigns. We're gonna have to sit through this awful NXT storyline. I really don't know what this company is doing, but their TV tapings look like shit, and I don't know how to fix this for them because they've done such a bad job of making their TV shows must see TV. And I'm supposed to believe that they're gonna land some kind of massive $10 million a year deal. Are we high? We have to be high. Marcus, I don't know if you saw the live July 24th show. We're supposed to be getting more of these live shows. I don't know if I want to see them. Now, granted, we got Elijah debuting at the one, but I think the Colognes also debuted on that show. So, you're 1 for 3 on that one, I guess, Chief. Have you enjoyed the live shows? And more importantly, do you think the TV product is delivering, considering it's about to announce potentially a new TV deal?
Yeah, so like again, like a couple steps forward, like 4 steps back. Coming off Slamverse, a lot of mixed feelings. Um, Several things I liked, other stuff not so much. Like we was talking about before the show, like so that's the biggest drawing show of all time, correct?
Mm-hmm. I think so, at least in the U.S.
Almost 10,000. Yeah, but it's for some reason it's either not translating to the TV because of where they have it or how they TVs are presented or perceived, or um, it's still some of that obviously that energy coming off Slammiversary where a lot of people had a thing in their mind that was gonna happen and they either just didn't want to go that way or want to prolong the uh, the satisfaction of it, which may come around and bite them in the ass. Of course, it wouldn't be the first time that they've done that for a world title match. It's just it sucks because, like I said, it feels like when they do one thing good or get a good signing or have a good storyline going, here comes something nonsensical or unnecessary, or why does the NXT have to be involved in it? So it's just major, conflict of conscience right now as a TNA fan. Like, still feeling a little bit of high off the AJ Styles thing, and never think we was gonna get that again. The possibility was there with the working relationship, but I'm glad that ended up happening. Obviously, everything with Leon Slater is great, but like you said, and even I don't know if you guys saw this, Jeff Jarrett had kind of commented on it, I think off his show. He was like, he doesn't really know what the direction is of what they're trying to do long term, just like you just said. And if we got a, and I hope they get a TV deal because that's always felt like the missing piece that they earned their name back and got certain balls rolling. But like you said, we need to upgrade, and if the mentality doesn't improve, the TV deal is only going to do so much. So um, again, as a TNA long time TNA fan, this always feels like we're hanging in, just hanging in there one way or the other. Well, but just continue to do it, and then some weeks I'm obviously just have to kind of vicariously live through you off tweets. Um, but I haven't. I only caught like one live show, and it was cool. But obviously, I think a lot of improvements need to be made.
Yeah, a lot of improvements do need to be made. One of the problems that the company has right now is the lack of like genuine talent. They're skating by on some guys and some names, but they're eventually going to need to improve the talent pool on this company. Steve Macklin is like, everyone's like, well, he's the new world champion while Trick William has the belt. And like, okay, cool. Steve Macklin's a C plus wrestler, dude. If he's number two to Trick Williams, who himself is a C wrestler, then like, what does that tell you about your talent? Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy might be your most popular guys. Neither one of them can really do a 15-minute singles match anymore. Now, Leon Slater's great, but his personality and character is still undeveloped. You can't really put him out there and expect to draw with someone who's still so new. He's 20 now. Granted, he's been wrestling since he was like 14 because England is crazy, but he doesn't have that kind of aura about him yet. That kind of marketability. That's kind of the issue with so many of these guys in the company. They're either carbon copies of somebody else. You look at First Class. How many groups do we have like that in wrestling? You got Jake something who's cool, but like he doesn't offer that unique character or promo that a guy like him should have. And the guys you did have who could give you that left because you didn't pay them. You're gonna have to figure something out because I'm telling you, you can roll out, Santino Marella and the Hardy Boys and some other ex WWE guys all you want. You're eventually gonna need to build up your own identity because WWE fans will turn on you, one way or another. They will turn on you. You cannot just hope that they won't. You have to fortify your future. Period. End of discussion. Let's talk about SummerSlam though, because that shit show is coming up in what, a week? Not even 4 days. It's going to be August 2nd to the 3rd in East Rutherford, New Jersey. We got 2 nights of wrestling, 12 matches. If you're going to do 2 nights, do 8 matches. If you're gonna do do 2 3 hour shows, I'd be fine with that. Like if you loaded up both shows, like we're gonna do 8 matches a night, I'd be like, dope. Excuse me, I had to sneeze. That is not what's happening. Instead, we're still getting the scarcity that we've been getting. Night one, we're gonna get Jade Cargill versus Tiffany Stratton, because they're still trying to make both them work. I know some people think Tiffy time is going to work, but honest to God, we've seen the Tiffany Stratton character so many times and done so much better. I don't think she's going to be the knockout you think she is long term. Jade Cargill still hasn't proven that she can delineate between a wrist watch and a wrist lock, let alone be able to execute one. That's going to be awful. Randy Orton and Jelly Roll versus Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul. A battle of why Jelly Roll looks like a Hulk Hogan fan. I'm gonna let
Oh
that one
no,
percolate for a minute. Logan Paul is a Hulk Hogan fan. Gonna let that
yeah,
percolate for a moment. Randy Orton was once accused of sexual misconduct, and the WWE quote unquote investigated him as he went to make a mockery of the accusation. So he's a piece of shit. And Drew McIntyre probably should be very careful about the things he says in this country when he's in this country, because he could get deported pretty easily. He may not even be here for the show. Apparently, he's having visa issues. I think that's what's going on.
yeah. I'm guessing he got caught without his. They needed his U.S. Is it a U.S. passport or U.S. visa? Something he didn't have. Like, he had photos of it and stuff, but they needed the practical thing. So,
Good job, Drew. Then we have Gunther versus CM Punk. This is an interesting aside. So WWE released that, I'm assuming scripted reality show where it was behind the scenes and all that stuff. And they showed us the screen grab of what WrestleMania was set to look like, and one of the matches sure you'll be surprised about this. Was CM Punk versus Gunther for the world title. It was not going to be Punk versus Seth versus Roman. It was going to be Seth versus Roman. Jey Uso was going to be, I think, in a ladder match for the Intercontinental title, and Punk was going to face Gunther. And honestly, that should have been the match. That should have been the moment because we know Jey Uso's not the guy. He's terrible. He's trash. Marcus, Jey Uso recently came out and admitted that he gets blown up from his entrance. He gets winded and
Yeah,
gassed from walking in a
we couldn't
crowd.
tell. We couldn't tell.
When I heard that, Marcus, I'm like, you are so bad at your job that you get winded from doing a dorky hand motion and walking down steps. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Golly, man. So, in other SummerSlam news, the Judgment Days, Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez will take on Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. Talk about a tag team I never gave a shit about. Bliss and Flair, they're both kind of done. Bliss is like she. I was a long time Bliss fan for a long time, but she's been doing this for like a decade now, and she hasn't changed up anything really. Now people are like, well, she went and did the Bray Wyatt Sister Abigail stuff. And yeah, but she was still just kind of Alexa Bliss with a new, with a new, costume alternate. She didn't really shake anything up. And Charlotte Flair is just, she is the most unlikable female wrestler in wrestling today, and it has nothing to do with her character or talent. It all had to do with the fact that she is Charlotte Flair. She does the figure four. She comes out in a robe. She comes out to the woo. She woos in everyone's faces. She talks about, how many titles she's won. She is a carbon copy of her father, and then she gets mad when people are like, wow, you're just like your father. No, I'm not. I'm my own person. We're going to need to have a conversation on what your own person is, because Shar, you ain't it. You ain't it. Then we have Roman Reigns and Jey Uso versus Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. At least they're doing something that doesn't involve the bloodline. I don't give a shit about this. Roman Reigns is the laziest main eventer I've ever seen. This motherfucker wrestles twice a year. When he does wrestle, he does 4 moves. And he usually wins. I don't give a shit about him. Jey Uso, arguably the worst wrestler who gets significant ring time on a weekly basis in the industry today. Braun is in a tag team with Bronson Reed that, quite frankly, it aren't being utilized all that well because, Jesus, I have not seen any real highlights about them as a team. And maybe they're just supposed to be a trio, and they're not actually a team because they're with Seth Rollins. But Bronson Reed was used better in TNA and New Japan, and Braun Breaker was used so much better in NXT. Paul Levesque, Triple H is such a terrible fucking booker. Then we have a Sami Zayn versus Karrion Kross feud, which, if I remember correctly, Karrion told Sami, if you win on Sunday, I'll be wrong, but if I win, I'll be right. I'm like, wow. Stakes right there, guys.
Mr. Smoke Show.
Awful. Night 2 will have Cena versus Cody again because, that was a great feud the first time around. But Marcus, if you look closely, you can see the exact moment that that John Cena and Cody Rhodes switched from heel to face. Did you see that tweet?
No.
So
Oh yeah, yeah. You talking about when they were sitting down?
yeah, they're sitting down, and some goober was like, "You can see the exact moment when they switched from being heel and face." I'm like, if I knew you in real life, Mister Twitter man, I'd punch you in the face until I couldn't. Until I couldn't. You say dumb shit for engagement, and I hate that. It's inauthentic, and I fucking hate that. Naomi's taking on Rhea Ripley and Io Sky in a triple threat. Guess we're still doing that. Becky Lynch versus Lyra Valkyra. I think that's isn't that how you say her last name? Valkyria.
Valkyria.
Valkyrie,
Yeah,
Valkyrie,
Kira. Yeah.
Valkyria. Okay. Um, I don't give a shit about either of these two. I hate the whole WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship. All right, what's the men's called? Oh, it's just the Intercontinental Championship. Oh, okay. So maybe let's not come up with a name that's like the other title, but makes it seem less important by putting a gendered term in front of it. Just call it anything else. Call out the Divas Championship. Boom. Call it, the television championship. Call it the Heritage Championship. There's so many stupid names you could put in front of another woman's title. You don't need to call it the Women's Intercontinental or the Women's United States. Just call it something different. Call it the European title. God damn. Call it the lightweight title. God damn. I hate that. I hate this shit. WWE is so homogenized, and Brian Danielson's right. Every time he calls it a parody of a parody, his company is. It's a fucking parody of pro wrestling, and I fucking hate it. It's goddamn word. I feel like Shorzy right now. I don't know if you've ever seen the Canadian comedy Shorzy. I've seen a few clips. That's how I feel. I feel like whenever I rant about the WWE, I feel like Shorzy. Oh, and here's a fun match I've never seen before. Solo Sikoa is going to take on Jacob Fatu for the U.S. title. That'll put butts in seats. Sikoa is such a terrible fucking wrestler. I don't even know why. If he was not a member of this stupid family, he would have been fired like 3 years ago. He's fucking trash. And Jacob Fatu is being wasted. How do you have Jacob Fatu and Bronson Steiner on the same fucking card and not go, let's put those two animals together and see what kind of madness they can tear up? It's like, what's his name from Godzilla 20, what was it, 2014? Let them fight.
Let them fight.
Right?
But who
Like,
you booking it? Who's facing who? You booking it? Who facing who? Will?
I'm putting Fatu versus Breaker Bracker. And I'm gonna have them go 60 minutes, and the match is gonna end when one of them runs through the wall. And I don't mean like a fake wall. I mean I'm like Braun,
Yeah.
Jacob. Who wants to go through the concrete wall over there? Raise your hand. They're both gonna raise their hands because they're both psychotic.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna go through it, and then they're not gonna get up, and then it's gonna end in a double count out or what have you.
So you will keep Ron. You gonna keep Fatu as the face and have them kind of Kurt Angle, Shane O'Mac.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're gonna beat each other bloody, and then the next night on Raw, they're gonna come out and just smile at one another like the sick heathens they are. And then I'm gonna put them in a
Yeah.
tag team match that night against 5 other dudes, Randy Orton, Sami Zayn, whoever else has name value, and they're gonna beat them all in like 6 minutes. And then I'm gonna be like forcing them into the world title scene. They're gonna take the belt off of Gunther because Gunther had a good run, but the guy's not the guy in this company because they don't know how to use him. I'm gonna put the belt on one of them, and then I'm gonna be
Yeah.
like, listen, you two fuckers are gonna be fighting from January to January. Make sure that every time you fight, you lose a piece of your soul in the process, because those two motherfuckers could cause some
Right.
carnage.
Now
Instead,
do
we're
you
getting weak ass tag matches
do
in Solo Sikoa.
now in that? Do you have them do a thing where Ron hits that talking and run around the ring, hit him with a spear, and in that moment, do you have Jacob do the zombie rise up and shake thing, or do you save that for like one of their last matches together?
I would get rid of both of those. If you're a grown man and you see another man running around the ring, why don't you just slide into the ring? It's the stupidest fucking move. Secondly, the zombie thing. No, Jacob Padu doesn't need to do a zombie thing. Just beat the shit out of each other. Just like waffle each other with like cake pans or some shit like that. Just go nuts. Fly over the top rope. Jump through walls. Take it to the streets. Have so many clotheslines that we think you're a 1950s suburb. Just go fucking nuts. Like no gimmicks, no WWEifying. Just go nuts on each other. I'm gonna
Yeah.
give you 24 matches in a year, and I want them to be progressively more violent. I want you to start with a simple pinfall on a Raw in January, and then in December, I want one of you having to lose a fucking finger. I want an ear. Tear the nostril. I want part of a lip. Tear off a nipple. That's the level of violence these two are capable of, man. And all you need to do is watch Fatu versus Hammerstone from MLW. You know that Fatu is being fucking squandered. My goodness. Speaking of squandering, we're done pretending Dominic Mysterio is some kind of it kind of wrestler, right? Like, we all realize that this dude doesn't really have that next gear, right?
He's competent. Only he peaked with Rhea. It's been that ever since.
Yeah, like he was a fun little gimmick. He went to jail. I have not seen him have a great match. For as vaunted as his father is, and as much as we tried to give him time to develop as a wrestler, he's never had a great match. The thing that's keeping him relevant now is that the wanna like yitis has become so infantilized in social media culture that things that aren't even true have become memes, and now fans are living through the memes vicariously. Like Dominic's nuggies, and I know they're like the hardest sell I have. Like I could understand Ray Ripley having a thing for Dominic, but then Liv Morgan and somehow now Roxanne Perez. Dominic Mysterio looks like he's on one of those lists that he has to alert people every time he moves into a school district that he's moving in. He's not charismatic, not the way people like to pretend he is. Like he's a joke, and I mean that. Like no one ever talks about, hey, did you hear about that one great Dom Mysterio promo? They go, oh my god, he's so much like his dad Eddie Guerrero. Because remember that one time Eddie said he was his father 20 years ago? We're gonna beat that into the fucking ground until it's the only thing we know about him.
Yeah.
Like
Um,
he's not
and Eddie has.
successful because of his talents. He's successful because of the memes attached to him. Like we know that, right? Like we're all
Yeah.
aware of that.
Yeah. I mean, and I think Eddie had one of your favorite promos of all time.
Oh,
Uh,
the Brock, you're not fighting the ghost, you're fighting me.
yeah.
Yeah, Eddie's whole "I lie, I cheat, I steal" the Brock Lesnar is fantastic. But Brock's, "Hey Eddie, you're
Yeah.
not fighting the odds, you're fighting me." It's great. It's great.
Yeah, and his best thing for Dom is them not allowing him to speak on the mic. So him ever getting to the point, and maybe it'll happen one day where they let him speak. I still don't see him cutting a promo like that. You know, like I said, he's confident in the ring, but he's him against AJ Styles is like, uh, who you said is like the number one female wrestler in the world. Well, you said Julia for you.
For me, the number one female wrestler in the world is still Jordan Grace, even though she's being used like shit.
Yeah, Jordan. Yeah, Jordan. That's like Jordan facing off against Jakara to me.
I think it's worse. I think it's like facing off with like fucking JC Jane.
Nah, I don't have seen that enough, have I?
Here's the thing. Um, Dom is fine.
Yeah,
He's the Leap in Lenny Popo of 2025, and that's the most I can say about that. But on a lighter note, Eddie's whole country club lie, cheat, and steal promo, one of the best I've ever seen. All right, how many of that? Well, I hit it off the tree. I hit it into the pond. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Give me a 2. Fucking love that. It's great. Dom will never have that charisma. Dom has his father's charisma, his real father, Rey Mysterio. And Rey Mysterio has zero charisma. One of the worst promos in the history of wrestling. Don't at me. Last up, we have the six-pack TLC match. It's the Wyatt Six. Dexter Lumis and Joe Gacy taking on Andrade and Ray Phoenix. Wow, they've already got Ray Phoenix in a tag team. They already got Andrade in a tag team. Holy shit. DIY, Fraxium, Motor City Machine Guns, and the Street Profits. I could not care less about this match, and I actually like Dexter Lumis and Joe Gacy and the Machine Gun. And I don't give a shit about this. Although I did see, who is it? Not Montez Ford. Who's the Carmelo Hayes? I saw that the Carmelo Hayes was trending recently, and he kind of said like, "Here we go," on Twitter, because he knows he'll either get pushed or he'll get fired from that. And if he gets fired, and I mean this with all sincerity and with all positivity, I hope he does. Could you imagine Carmelo Hayes running loose in AEW or TNA? Shit, that'd be impressive.
Man, Carmelo versus Swerve or
Carmelo versus
Omega
Eddie.
or yeah, man.
Carmelo versus Santana.
Um, it gotta be. It's so crazy talking about these people potentially getting picked up because getting dropped from NXT, like you said, talking about the card, getting dropped from NXT, getting signed by TNA when they have a working partnership it's weird.
Yeah, somebody said that it's like, lose. It's like getting released and then you sign a new contract with the same company, but for 60 cents on the dollar. I'm like, damn, you're right. You didn't need to say it. Marcus, of the SummerSlam card, is there a match you're looking forward to?
I think looking forward to that ladder match because I think those guys still feel like they got something to prove. And those I don't know if those I can't recall the last time those titles were featured on a PLE. So I think they're definitely going to go out there with something to prove. Um, let's see, let's see, night one. I'm cautiously curious about Tiffany and Carl and Jade. Um, Gunther and Punk, just yeah, that's gonna turn out that chemistry. Everything else, I can't. No, I mean, Roman at this point is the very definition of, as the kids would say, aura farming. Jay is what it is. Braun and Reed could, I think, benefit heavily from not being from Seth being out. But okay, they probably not gonna get the win there. Let's see. Looking forward to that female triple threat only because I feel like Naomi's winning. I like everything that she's doing now, and I feel like that match still has more to do with Rhea and Io and the fact that she's never beaten Io. Uh, than that the full on triple threat of it all. And I think Naomi probably will and should take advantage of that to get the win, and then they finish that with Io and Rhea because you got Vaquera next, and I think what Clash at the Cap. Um, I've been digging the stuff between Becky and Valkyria, but I know I'm probably alone in that here. And as far as everything else, not so much. Those are matches for me.
I'll try to pick one from each night. Gunther versus Punk could still be good. Punk's not so out of his prime that he can't still put on a good match. You look at Punk wrestling at, what is it, 46, 47?
You see a
Punk is
weird seeing him with a little
46,
size on it. It's crazy.
right?
Yeah.
Punk is 46. Cena's what, 48? Cena's 48. Now, granted, Punk was off for nearly a decade. Cena wasn't. But seeing Cena barely be able to move, he's only 2 years older than Punk.
Uh,
I think if anyone has an opportunity to get a good match out of Dom, it's AJ Styles, who is the same age as Cena, by the way. I think he's 48.
yeah.
So I think Styles can probably get a good match out of Dom. If not
Yeah.
Styles, then no one can. No one can. So I'll say night one, Punk and Gunther's the match I'm most excited about, even though I'm really not. And then the match that I'm most excited about on night two, even though I'm really not, is Dominic versus Styles. This is going to be a rough show. Rough fucking show. All right, Marcus. Any final thoughts on this week's show? Anything else that you want to touch on before we head off?
Well, I think we had talked about it briefly to close things out. Kind of shot themselves in the foot rolling with the Scott of it all, huh? The T Scott.
Oh yeah, so the Travis Scott nonsense. So apparently they built WrestleMania's main event around Travis Scott with the idea that Travis Scott would then come out and do more work for them. And I don't know why. It's not exactly like Travis Scott is currently, vibing in the zeitgeist of modern American pop culture. Travis Scott's a wildly known, very popular artist. Don't get that twisted. But if you were gonna go for an R&B rap singer or rapper, wouldn't you want to go with someone like who was beefing with Drake?
Oh, Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, why wouldn't you try to get Kendrick Lamar? Every person from the blackest neighborhoods in America to your whitest great grandparents knows who he is. Everyone. He was hosting the Super Bowl halftime show. And instead, you went with Travis Scott, who wasn't he most famous recently for getting a bunch of people killed at his concert. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe Travis Scott was the
yeah,
wrong idea to go with.
yeah. And he just got some weird behavior in general, and like you said, with the stuff that happened with Cody, and we've been critical of Cody here, but we don't want him to get in the ring with somebody who could potentially f him up literally.
Well, if you're doing
So
like for just the sake of argument, if you're doing a not that the WWE would do this, if you're doing a Black History Month segment, just sometimes you laugh at the things you say because you know it's true. You're doing a Black History Month segment on WWE television. Not that they do it anymore, because they are out and out racist themselves. And you brought in who's that country guy who said all the racial slurs? Morgan Wallen, is that his name?
yeah,
It'd be
man.
a little tone deaf, right? Kind of how Travis Scott is all. But here's the funniest part: Travis Scott apparently was not working in the ring. He was not really responding well to direction from Triple H and company, and basically they had a major falling out. So Cody got a concussion from this guy because apparently like he hit Cody so hard he gave him a minor concussion and ruined the main event of WrestleMania. The main event of WrestleMania 41 was terrible. Whether he did a blow off match with the WWE or not, doesn't matter. It was ruined. And then there's no payoff to that. Travis Scott and The Rock are out there doing their thing, and it's just one of the worst. Just one of the fucking worst. And then The Rock has the audacity to say, the final boss is the greatest deal in pro wrestling history. You made 2 appearances, moron. Like, fuck you, me. You didn't do shit. This whole company's a goddamn joke. This behind the scenes shit really didn't make them look good. And I'm kind of just sitting here going, what the fuck are we doing?
Particularly coming off everything with Hulk and one of the names heavily featured on said show is Michael Hayes of all people.
Oh, N-word past Michael Hayes? Is that who we're talking about? How Booker T said Michael Hayes has an N-word pass? Or is it Mark Henry? One of them said it. Oh, remember when Michael Hayes, Michael PSA's got a recovering alcoholic drunk again so he could sleep with her? Guy right there. Real ethical man. Man of morals and principles. That's what the PS stands for. Pretty sus. Company's a goddamn joke. All right. Before I spend any more time ranting and raving and ruining my night even further, let's end this debauchery that we call a show. And let's get up for next week. We're gonna have a topic for next week. I'm not sure what yet. I want to come up with something cool. I don't want to just be doing trending news stories. Maybe we'll do a SummerSlam recap. I doubt it. I don't think I'll be watching. Um, but I'll come up with something and I'll throw you some ideas probably tonight. Uh, Check out the website realnerdcorp.com, REALNERDCRP.com. We're on Twitter at NERDCRP. Marcus, you're on Twitter at ParadoxKid, PARADOXKID.
Yes, sir, that's me.
That's Paradox Kid in case I stumbled too hard. You can also find him on this other podcast, The True Penny Show, TRUEPENNYSHOW, on Twitter. They post all their shows to the Twitter account, or X account, if you will. You can find me on Twitter as well at Chad Nerdcorp, CHEDNERDCRP, and on the Instagram at Chad's Photo at CHEDSPHOTOHUT. The YouTube is youtube.com/Wrestling Underground, or is maybe it's just Wrestling Underground. I think it's The Wrestling Underground. And Twitch is the same thing. It's either Wrestling Underground or The Wrestling Underground on Twitch. Check us out there. We'll be back next Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for giving us a chance. Remember, as always, to watch more wrestling. And Marcus, why don't you take us home?
Night.